Good morning, everyone. For Telesur, I'm Regan Devines in Caracas, Venezuela. Thank you so much for joining us on From the South. Today, the U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry is visiting Havana to head the official U.S. flag waving at the United States Embassy in Havana. Kerry arrives a day after massive celebrations for the 89th birthday of former Cuban leader Fidel Castro. Now, Kerry spoke to the press regarding his trip to Cuba. He admitted that normalization of relations between both countries would be a long process. He hinted that Washington is expecting Cuba to take decisions that will bring change to the island nation, but he did not give details. He did, however, fail to speak of the greater issue of lifting the illegal blockade against Cuba.
First of all, it isn't going to change overnight. It's just not going to change. We haven't even been there to raise our flag yet. I think that as we begin the process compared to the 54 years of what has been going on, which is no progress, we will begin to see a transformation take place. More people will travel, there'll be more exchange, more families will be reconnected, and hopefully the government of Cuba will itself make decisions that will begin to change things.
It was a good time for legendary Cuban revolutionary leader Fidel Castro, who celebrated his 89th birthday with Bolivian President Evo Morales and Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro. They are two of the Cuban government's closest allies. However, Castro took some time to criticize Washington for its destabilization efforts in Latin American countries. He also demanded that the U.S. pay millions in compensation to Cuba due to the unlawful 54-year blockade. Fidel Castro praised the unity of the Latin American countries.
In many Latin American countries, the revolution is today inevitable. History will have to rely on the poor people of America. They have decided to permanently write their history. Cuba spoke for the people and the history of Latin Americans. Then there will always hear echoes and find answers.
Donde sus palabras tendrán eco y respuesta.
Now, we've been following the developments in Ecuador, and as predicted by President Rafael Correa, the opposition's call for mobilization and a national strike has failed. The turnout was low, and some who did participate in the anti-government rally in the capital Quito resorted to violence. The perception is that Ecuador's opposition has lacked valid arguments for their actions, which are mainly being described as destabilization attempts. In contrast, many more people turned out to a spontaneous demonstration of support for President Correa.
Today, we supposedly face marches, uprisings, strikes, and Quito, the motherland, hasn't even felt it because millions of Ecuadorians went to work with greater determination, with much more love for the new motherland. Thank you, beloved Ecuador.
Police in riot gear stood by and watched as right-wing provocateurs resorted to violence. They harassed and attacked police officers with fences, sticks, poles, metal tubes, rocks, even bottles and slingshots. Officers were even attacked with Molotov cocktails. However, thousands showed up unannounced to defend Correa and his government. And indigenous opposition leaders spoke out, ignoring the images and the facts which speak for themselves, that according to the polls, Correa's approval rating stands at over 70%.
Well, we've won one battle by the Ecuadorian people. Specifically, the city of Quito has risen up, lost its fear, and demonstrated that there are people completely unsatisfied with President Correa, with his policies.
Officials in Mexico have yet to clarify the deaths of photojournalist Ruben Espinosa and activist Nadia Vera, who by all accounts were threatened by the VERACRUZ governor, Javier Duarte, having fled to Mexico City, where they were recently killed. In the meantime, Duarte has accumulated another demerit. Another journalist has been killed in Veracruz and two others injured when heavily armed men stormed the bar in Orizaba near Jalapa, the capital of the violent state of Veracruz. Witnesses also reported the beating of a photojournalist by Governor Duarte's bodyguards. Witnesses say the beating seemed to be without basis or reason. Chilean President Michelle Bachelet is on an official visit to Mexico. She met with President Enrique Peña Nieto in a celebration of the 25th anniversary of the restoration of diplomatic ties. They also signed a series of new bilateral deals. Chile and Mexico have had a free trade deal in place since 1998. They were both founding members of the Pacific Alliance, which, after only 3 years, is already the world's 7th largest recipient of foreign direct investment, with $71 billion in 2012.
Today, commercial exchange has exceeded $3.5 billion. For Mexico, Chile is the third biggest commercial partner in Latin America. This provides a context and a clear dimension of the size of the relationship and the promising future in the investment ties and reciprocal investment between both countries.
Colombian President Juan Manuel Santos said he would be willing to meet with the head of the FARC rebel group, Timochenko, whose real name is Rodrigo Londoño. Timochenko is not personally taking part in the negotiations, and his exact whereabouts are currently unknown. Colombia's Attorney General has put out at least 117 capture orders on Timochenko for kidnapping, murder, rebellion, and terrorism, while the United States has offered up to $5 million for information leading to his arrest.
I have no problem meeting Timochenko at this stage, whether to speed it up or to finish it off. What interests me is setting this conflict as soon as possible, and I am willing to meet whatever the circumstances.
Let's go now to our correspondent in Argentina, Laureano Ponce. He will tell us more on a plan by the Argentine Central Bank to stimulate savings in local currency in order to reduce pressure on foreign exchange operations.
As part of the economic measures destined to fight speculative maneuvers over the foreign exchange market, Argentina's central bank established a rise in the rate of fixed-term deposits in order to stimulate savings in local currency. Besides strengthening the Argentine peso, the measures seek to reduce the pressure on the international reserves of the financial authority.
We need to keep teaching people how to invest their savings and help them understand that there are much better options than purchasing dollars, and that are much better for all. Because when there is foreign currency outflow, we lose the opportunity of using that foreign currency to finance the growth and development process that Argentina seeks to carry on.
One of the goals that Argentina's financial authorities seek with this measure is to start questioning the idea that savings can only be safe when they are kept in foreign currency. However, as a result of these kind of measures, this idea has started to change.
In 2002, in Argentina, the financial sector had more than 90% of its deposits in dollars and less than 10% in local currency. Today, more than 90% of the deposits are in local currency, and a very small part are deposited in dollars.
Other result of this initiative has been a drop in the price of foreign currency in the illegal market, which has been pointed out by experts as one of the ways in which the financial sector tries to put pressure over the local economy.
Besides the illegal dollar exchange market, I believe this is a good measure that seeks to preserve the value of the savings of Argentines that trust their country.
The head of the central bank, Alejandro Banoli, also pointed out fixed-term deposits have grown 41% in the last year, making a significant impact in reducing illegal forex operations. Laureano Ponce, Telesur, Buenos Aires.
This Greek government of Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras secured enough votes to win parliamentary approval for a new BAILOUT agreement just a few hours ago in Athens. Despite the legislative victory, the ruling Syriza party saw deepening rift. This has led Tsipras to call a confidence vote after Greece makes a $3.6 billion payment to the European Central Bank. All eyes are now on the meeting of the Eurozone minister in Brussels, who now must approve the deal. Tsipras told lawmakers that the decision to accept the bailout terms imposed by its creditors was one between staying alive or suicide. I don't regret either fighting as no one else. As far as I know, I don't want to insult anyone. In order to defend the rights of the Greek people, this right that I believed in as well. However, I also do not regret deciding the compromise instead of a heroic suicide for a great majority of the Greek people. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said that Russia stands ready to work with the West and Middle Eastern countries to fight terrorism. He also spoke of the urgent need to a speedy solution to the crisis in Syria. The Russian official said Moscow was working with regional and international players to find consensus on a political settlement for the Syria crisis. Lavrov says there is a profound concern in stopping the country from becoming a hotbed for terrorism. He added that Russia is ready to hold talks with the Syrian government and all opposition parties in and outside Syria. There is interest in putting a barrier in the way of terrorism. All parties are interested in the soonest political settlement of the crisis in Syria on the basis of Geneva Communique. And the most important thing now is to transform this interest into coordinated practical steps. In the Chinese port city of Tianjin, flames at the warehouse where 2 chemical blasts occurred Wednesday were finally dying out hours ago. Over 50 people died and at least 700 were injured. 17 firefighters also died in the incident. The effects of the explosion were felt throughout the city. Black smoke could still be seen at the site of the blasts as rescue operations were still underway. Investigators are searching for clues to identify the causes of the explosions, which were so huge they were seen by satellites in space and registered on earthquake sensors.
And thanks to our news team in Quito, Ecuador, for putting together the world package. To end our newscast now in Mexico, where a discovery that could shed new light on Latin America's most advanced ancient civilization has been made. A group of scientists from the Autonomous University of Mexico announced that a sacred sinkhole cave known as the Cenote has been discovered under the Mayan Chichen Itza's Grand Kukulkan Castle Pyramid. Mexico's Kukulkan Pyramid is one of the new 7 wonders of the ancient world, renowned for its perfect astronomical geometry. At its peak during the 18th century, the Mayan Empire had a population of over 15 million, which later extended into Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador.
Remember what happened in the middle of the limestone, where we can caverns, a subterranean river, and it's very possible that the pyramid is sitting on the top of a cenote.
For more on these and other stories, please visit our website, telesurtv.net/English. For Telesur English, I'm Regan Devines. Another news brief coming to you at midday.